What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Nevin the Barber, and in today's video we're going to be covering a low drop fade with a number 4 guard on top. My client wanted to go pretty short, so we're using the 4 guard on my Gamma Instinct clippers right now. And we're just going to run this guard all the way throughout my client's scalp, ensuring that all the hair is cut down to a number 4 guard length before we begin the start of the fade. So now that we have that complete and my client's hair is knocked down all the way to a 4 all around, we can now go ahead and begin the fade. So I'm going to start off this fade by using my Gamma Instinct trimmers. And since this is going to be a low drop fade, we do want to make sure that we keep it as low as possible, going over the earlobes and making sure that we do drop it underneath the occipital bone. That way that blend will stay beneath the occipital bone and give the fade that much more contrast when you look at it from the sides and the back. And always remember that clean guidelines will equal a clean fade. So whenever you guys are doing this, just be sure that you're being very careful with how you put your guidelines in, because this first guideline is ultimately going to determine how the rest of your fade lays out. So just keep that in mind whenever you guys are cutting hair. And for the next step in this fade, I'm going to go ahead and use no guard, lever all the way open on my Gamma Instinct clippers. So this is now cutting the hair down to a short 0.5 length, and we want to give ourselves a little bit less than an inch. I usually go up about 3/4 of an inch with each guideline. And we're not going to erase this guideline quite yet. We're actually going to come back and erase this guideline at the end of our blend once we have the other steps completed. So for the next step in this low fade, I'm going to use my 1.5 guard all the way closed. So this is still cutting the hair at a 1.5 guard length. And again, I'm bringing this guideline up about 3/4 of an inch. And you guys just want to make sure that you're flicking that guard out in a scoop out motion. Now I'm going to begin doing some clipper over comb with the same 1.5 guard on my clippers. And I do have the lever all the way closed right now. And when you guys are doing clipper over comb, it's very, very important that you roll that comb off of the parietal ridge and the occipital bone as well. And now this step is very important. We're going to open the lever all the way with the 1.5 guard on our clippers. So we're now cutting the hair down to a number 2 guard length, and we're just going to be attacking any last dark spots above that 1.5 area that we just blended into. And just be patient with it. You know, some people may have thicker hair texture than others, which may cause you, to have to put in a little bit more detail whenever you guys are doing this. But just be patient. As long as you guys are doing these steps correctly, you should be able to achieve a nice clean blurry blend. So now we're going to start by attacking that middle guideline using the 1/2 guard all the way open. So this guard right now is cutting the hair down to a number 1 guard length, and we're just flicking out at that middle section, closing the lever as needed, shortening our cutting stroke as we do so. And you guys can see that I'm just using the very corner of my blade. Personally, I like to use the corners when I'm blending out the hair because it gives it a more detailed cut, a more precise cut, rather than using the full entire blade on your client's scalp. So just another thing to keep in mind whenever you guys are trying to blend your guidelines out, just try to corner cut and flick out the best that you guys can. And little by little, you guys can see how that guideline is starting to disperse away into the 1.5. And another thing to remember whenever you guys are cutting hair is that the fade does happen between the 1.5 all the way down to the skin. You know, so you don't really have to put in that much detail work with the bigger guards just because they're not really going to make much of a difference. But the half guard is really where your fade and your blend is going to come to life. And now I'm going to be using no guard with the lever all the way closed. So this is cutting the hair down to a short 00 length, and my clippers are 0 gaps, so these are cutting very fairly close to the skin. And we're just gonna start opening that lever, stretching out our cutting stroke as needed just to clean up any last dark areas that we see at the start of our blend. And of course, it's always crucial just to go back and put a few more details in after you guys are done with the haircut. Whenever you guys are doing this step right here, I would highly recommend that you do it with the 0 gapped clipper. Otherwise, there is still going to be a small faint line by your trimmer line. And if your clippers can't knock out this guideline right here, you can always come back with your trimmers, just making sure that you can blend that skin line into the stubble. And you guys can see that I'm just doing lever play, attacking any last dark areas that I may have missed. And as you guys start to cut hair more consistently, you'll start to build what's called the barber's eye, which basically just makes it easier for you to know, which guard to use in what areas and whatnot. That way you can achieve the cleanest blend possible. And now I came back with the 0 guard all the way open, and the 0 guard is just a tad bit longer than the half guard. So with this, the lever all the way open is probably cutting the hair down to a 1.25. And you guys can see that I'm just scooping out, attacking any last dark areas at the top of my blend. And now I'm going to get into the edge up. So when I do my client's edge up, I always like to start off with his C-cups and his vertical bars before I get into his hairline. And it's always important that you do a client consultation, asking them, if they even would like a lineup. Some clients may just like a natural hairline, or they may like to keep the C-cups natural. And one more time, just going over it with my trimmers, you guys can see that this haircut is starting to come together little by little. So now that we've done those steps on the left side, we're going to do the same exact thing on the right side of my client's head. First things first, we'll be carving in our first initial bald guideline with the Gamma Instinct trimmers. And you guys can see how I immediately dropped it as soon as I went above my client's ear. That way, like I said, we do have enough space to blend that fade out underneath my client's occipital bone. So now that we have that first guideline established, we're just going to go over it with my Braun Series 9 shaver, ensuring that all that stubble is cut down to the skin before we actually get into the fade. And this shaver right here is honestly my best electric shaver that I've tried. I've tried tons of different shavers, and this one's far better than the dual foil shaver and the single foil shaver. It is a little more pricier, but it's definitely worth it. So that's the Braun Series 9 if you guys are interested in getting that one. And now for the next step in this fade, we're going to begin with no guard lever all the way open. Again, going up about 3/4 of an inch. And before you guys move into the 1.5 guard closed, you just want to make sure that this guideline is nice and consistent, just as your trimmer line was. And like I said at the beginning of the video, clean guidelines will equal a clean blurry fade. So just try to get, you know, the best symmetry that you guys can on each side of your client's head. And now with the 1.5 guard all the way closed, again going up about 3/4 of an inch, followed by clipper over comb with the same guard on. And when doing clipper over comb, it's very, very important that you guys roll that comb off of the parietal ridge and the occipital bone of your client. Otherwise, you know, you can create a gash in your client's crown. So just be careful whenever you guys are doing this step. It does require a little bit of some consistency before you guys actually master it. And now I went ahead and opened the lever all the way. So this is the 1.5 guard all the way open, cutting the hair down to a short number 2 guard length. And you guys can see how that guideline just started to disperse away just with those few simple steps. And after we have the 1.5 guard blended into the bulk, then we'll just have to come back and erase our middle guideline and our initial skin guideline. And whenever you guys are cutting hair, you don't want to make it harder than what it is. You want to simplify your system to the best of your ability. And personally, I think this system right here is a very good system, considering that I've tried so many other methods. This one right here is my personal favorite. And now with the half guard all the way open, we're going to begin attacking that middle section. So the clipper is now cutting the hair down to a short number 1 guard length. And we're just going to start closing that lever, shortening our cutting stroke as we attack that guideline. And by the time you get to the lever all the way closed, that guideline should be blended out for the most part. And if it's not, you can always just come back with no guard, lever all the way open, and corner cut out those dark areas. And you guys can see that I went back a few times, just ensuring that I got all the hair cut down to the precise length that I wanted it. And little by little, that middle section is starting to disperse away. And you guys can see that we're starting to get the transition of a nice clean blurry fade. And I went ahead and did some clipper over comb with the half guard this time, just because I still saw a very faint dark line at the top of my blend. And like I said, I do like to do clipper over comb when it comes to blending into the bulk. Before we erase the last guideline in our fade, I'm going to go ahead and attack those last dark areas at the top of my blend using the 0 guard all the way open. And like I said, this guard right here is just a tad bit longer than the half guard. So it's really good to attack those areas that the half guard didn't get right at the top of your blend. And now that we have that step complete, we can just come back with our lever all the way closed, no guard. So the clipper is now cutting the hair down to a short 00 length. And just be patient with it. This is probably one of the most important steps that you guys are gonna have to be patient with. And just start gradually opening that lever as needed. just to clean out any last dark areas that you guys see. And always remember that barbering is what you make of it, you guys. There's so many different ways that you can cut hair and achieve a nice clean blend, but it's up to you guys if you're actually going to put in the work and make it happen. So just, be sure to be patient whenever you guys are cutting each client, and always remember that each client is another opportunity to get better and master your skill set. And I do have the lever almost all the way open right now. You guys can see that this blend is starting to look really nice and blurry just with these few simple steps that I've done. And as always, I am just using the corner of my blade to detail out this blend. And there's no such thing as too much detail work, so never feel like you guys are over detailing your cut. Not only will your client appreciate it, but this will also increase your chances of retainment. And just keep in mind that every haircut that you guys do is a walking billboard of your work. So now that we have the fade complete, we can begin the edge up now. So as always, I do like to start off with lining up the C-cups and the vertical bars before I line up the front hairline. And when lining up the C-cups, I do like to start at the point of reference and connect it from the bottom of my C-cup point. That way I don't push my client's hairline back and I can keep it looking as natural as possible. And same thing with the vertical bars and the front hairline. You guys just want to tap that line and follow it from the left to the right or right to left. And these trimmers right here are zero gapped for those that are wondering. I personally think that using a zero gap trimmer makes the job a lot easier when it comes to doing your edge ups and knocking out your skin lines. So now that we have the lineup complete, I'm going to go ahead and apply another layer of semi-permanent enhancement just on my client's vertical bars and on his weak areas on his front hairline. And I always like using shears despite what haircut I'm doing, because as you guys can see, it gives it a much more softer finish when blending into the bulk. And always be sure to roll that comb off at a 45-degree angle from that occipital bone in the parietal ridge. That way you guys don't cut into the crown and cut off any hair that doesn't necessarily need to be cut. And I'm gonna do some shear point cutting as well. This is a very good method when it comes to wanting to detail out specific spots within the fade, because sometimes the clippers can be kind of hard to take out just one specific little area. So this is where the point cutting with the shears can really make a big difference. And as you guys can see, I was able to get a much more blurrier transition, a much more softer finish into the bulk of my client's hair. So this is why I love doing shear work, just because it gives it that much more of a blurry effect on your haircut. And same thing on my client's edge up. I'm using my shears just to clean up any little scragglies or flyaways that I didn't get with the trimmers. And same thing on the left side of my client's head. And as you guys can see, when I'm doing shear over comb, I'm not bringing that comb up into the crown of my client's hair. I'm rolling the comb off of that parietal ridge bone and flicking out with the shears. And again, just doing some point cutting. This is a really effective method, like I said, when it comes to you guys just wanting to detail and really get much more of a blurrier transition on your haircuts. But that is about it for today's YouTube tutorial. I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment letting me know what you guys want to see next. But it's been your boy Nevin the Barber, and I'm out. I'll see you guys in the next one.